The Russian Federation's losses in manpower in the war against Ukraine exceeded 1 million people killed and wounded. Having destroyed over 1 million of its soldiers, Russia has not achieved a single strategic goal in this war in 3.5 years. Political and economic expert Taras Zagorodniy told Glavred why Russia's colossal human losses in the war with Ukraine are not a problem for the Kremlin, how many more millions of Russians Putin is capable of driving to the front, what weak points of Russia Ukraine can now strike and bring it down, how, without US help, Ukrainians and Europeans can cut off the oxygen supply to Russia by the end of the year, and what will bury the Putin regime, and what is Moscow's role in this process. Russia's weak points are obvious. Firstly, these are the Baltic and Novorossiysk ports, which Ukrainian drones and missiles are already reaching. Secondly, the railway and the SBU Operation Web demonstrated how easy it is to stop the railways and the movement of trucks in Russia. And imagine what it would mean if nothing was delivered to Moscow for a whole week. Then Moscow would feel the war very well and would begin to reconsider its assessment of the situation in Russia, he said. But the issue of conscripts is a painful one for Russians. There were scandals in Russia, mothers came to the protest, and this had an impact one way or another. But they were not against the war in Ukraine, they were against sending unprepared people to fight. You need to understand the double standards of Russians. When Ukraine was advancing in the Kursk region, our troops captured several conscripts, but they were exchanged. This shows that Russian society has a pain threshold. These are conscripts because an allusion to Afghanistan immediately arises when they are forcibly married. If a contract is signed, even if the Russian state bent over the same conscript, this is perceived differently. It is different. So it all comes down to economics. As long as Russia has money, the Kremlin will operate through contractors and cunningly avoid the complex issues of morality in Russian society. But the Russians have pain. Otherwise, the Russian government would have declared mobilization long ago, sent 1 million people to war, and would have attacked with more impressive forces. And certainly, in this case, Russia would not have negotiated with the North Koreans so that they would provide their soldiers. It is obvious that Russia's human resources are not as beautiful as they appear on paper and as they are trying to show. He added,
Thousands of residents of the Iranian capital Tehran are fleeing their homes and stockpiling essential supplies for fear that Israel's airstrike campaign against longtime foe Iran will escalate in the coming days. Residents began to flee Tehran and head towards the countryside on Sunday as Israeli attacks on the Iranian capital escalated, with bombs raining down on residential and government buildings alike. The ferocity of the Israeli assault caught Iran's citizens and government by surprise, as Israel's jets flew with virtual freedom over Iranian skies. While Iranian missiles flew towards Israel, its military seemed incapable of stopping Israeli attacks. There were scenes of chaos on Tehran streets as residents rushed to buy food amid bombings before shops shut. While residents queued for fuel, or for cash at ATMs, a sense of panic began to spread as the strikes were joined by car bombings, reportedly targeting Iranian nuclear scientists. People struggled to contact their loved ones as Iran's mobile phone network failed, giving only sporadic coverage. The Israeli military has warned Iranian civilians in a series of messages to leave some areas for their own safety, raising the prospect of a widening barrage of aerial attacks. Arabic spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces, Lieutenant Colonel Avichai Adri, has published a stark warning to Iranian civilians, urging immediate evacuation from areas near military production sites and associated infrastructure. This is an urgent warning to those who are currently or will be in the near future at any weapons manufacturing facilities in Iran and their associated sites. For your safety, we ask you to evacuate the premises immediately and not return until further notice, he wrote. Experts said Israel's attack had come at a critical point for the Iranian government, which has been rocked by protests in recent years and by a deepening economic crisis. Prices of food and other essential goods have rocketed over the past year as the Iran's currency, the rial, rapidly depreciated. Trump quickly signed an executive order after retaking office in January that tightened sanctions against Iran, choking off oil exports from the already beleaguered economy. Recall, U.S. President Donald Trump called for an exodus from Tehran in a major escalation to the Iran-Israel conflict which was entering its fifth day. Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame, and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Trump said in a post on Truth Social. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran, he added.
Readers of the American newspaper New York Post commented on Iran's strikes on Tel Aviv in response to the IDF attack on the Islamic Republic. In particular, it is claimed that the building of the General Staff of the Israel Defense Forces suffered significant damage. Israel's army headquarters were hit after the Islamic Republic of Iran fired a barrage of rockets into central Tel Aviv on Friday night, causing significant damage to the Jewish equivalent of the Pentagon, writes New York Post. The position of many commentators who write that Israel attacks only military targets and Iran strikes indiscriminately literally reproduces the manuals of the Ukrainian conflict with the corresponding division of the parties. However, skeptical assessments of users are occasionally heard. The comments are presented selectively. The opinions shown belong only to the authors on the site. Frankly, both sides should have suffered so much damage by now that they would have to stop this. Comments a certain The Twilight Zone. Israel is like Japan, celebrating victory after the attack on Pearl Harbor. Notes Jiminy Hendricks. Israel did not celebrate victory. They said they expected a response. This is not for one day, responded to John Drake's previous comment. Israel can't stop until there's a change of power in Iran. Anything less is pointless. Simple math. Iran sends 100 missiles. Israel sends 1,000 back. And yes, to cover costs, Trump also needs to start talking about claims to individual oil fields in Iran. Justice suggested. Ballistic missiles launched by Iran but courtesy of Russia. Pay them back, please, writes Low Country 1. The Iron Dome is designed to repel short-range missile attacks, and it is not enough for full-fledged ballistic missiles. When attacking, Israel uses other, more advanced systems. But if you have seen the footage, you must understand that it is difficult to shoot down more than 100 missiles at once. Lucky Craft explained. Great, Israel. Trump seems to be in league with Netanyahu. What the hell is America first? Israel first. They are no better than the people they attacked and are killing now. Just more cunning and connected to powerful organizations around the world. User KD reasoned. Oh wow, what a day. And Netanyahu ran away to Greece. The coward will see, says the user with the nickname Alpha Male.